It started as a quiet Saturday morning on the marina, the kind of day where the water looked like glass and peace finally felt possible. But that calm didn't last long. Within minutes, the HOA president, a woman known for her rules, was standing on the dock, pointing at my yacht as if it were hers to command. She wasn't asking. She was demanding to use it for her exclusive community party, assuming I was just the hired help. What she didn't know was who really owned that yacht. And when she found out, her face said everything. Like and subscribe to join our community. So what happens when privilege meets reality? Keep watching. For years, I worked hard. Late nights, endless deadlines, and constant self-doubt, all to finally reach a dream I once thought was impossible. I had grown up hearing that people like me didn't belong in certain neighborhoods, that success had a color and mine wasn't it. But after years of pushing through the whispers and the looks, I finally bought a small home near the marina and a yacht, my pride and joy. It wasn't about showing off, it was about peace. Every weekend, I'd head down to the dock, take the boat out into the quiet blue, and remind myself how far I'd come. Most of my neighbors kept to themselves, but I'd noticed the looks, the tight smiles, the hesitant nods. I didn't realize then that those looks were just the calm before the storm. When the HOA announced a community celebration and started planning near the docks, I thought it was harmless. Until one particular woman, the HOA president, started asking questions that didn't feel like questions at all. There was something behind her smile, something that said she had already decided what I was and where I belonged. I had no idea that one simple morning at the marina would turn into a public lesson in pride, prejudice, and power. The week leading up to the HOA event felt strange. Every time I passed by the dock, I saw the HOA president, Karen, as everyone called her, barking orders into her phone, measuring spaces, and giving disapproving glances at my yacht as if it was an eyesore rather than a masterpiece. I didn't think much of it at first, but then came the letter. A neatly folded notice slipped under my door, bearing the HOA seal. It wasn't a request, it was a directive. Your vessel will be used to host the HOA's annual community event. Attendance 100 guests. Compliance is expected. I read it twice thinking it was a joke. I didn't even know they could demand something like that. When I went to the next HOA meeting to clarify, the room fell silent as I entered. Karen, seated at the center like a queen at court, gave me that smile, tight, fake, and dripping with condescension. "Oh, we just assumed you'd be happy to help," she said sweetly. "You work on boats, right?" There it was, the assumption. Not you own the yacht, but you work on it. The room shifted uncomfortably, but no one spoke. The air felt heavy, like everyone knew it was wrong, but no one wanted to challenge her. I calmly explained that the yacht was mine, not for rent, and certainly not for anyone else's party. Her smile vanished. "That's not very community-minded of you," she said sharply. "You people are always so private." Those words hung in the air like a slap. I felt every eye on me, every unspoken prejudice. I left before saying something I'd regret. The next day, I arrived at the marina and froze. Decorations, balloons, tables, and banners were already being set up around my yacht. Karen's voice echoed across the dock, shouting instructions. My yacht was surrounded. I walked up calmly, trying to keep my composure, but my pulse was racing. When I told her again to stop, she waved her hand dismissively. "Please don't make a scene," she said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "We'll be done by tomorrow." The arrogance was suffocating. It wasn't just entitlement, it was ownership, the kind born from generations of unchallenged power. I felt small, angry, and invisible all over again, but that's when something shifted inside me. I wasn't that kid anymore, the one told to stay quiet to avoid trouble. Not today. So I made a call, one that would change everything. The next morning, when the HOA guests started arriving in their finest clothes, cameras in hand, Karen stood proudly at the dock, ready to claim her victory. She didn't know what was waiting for her, because when she saw who stepped off the yacht that morning, her world turned upside down. The morning sun glared across the marina as Karen's guests arrived. Hundreds of them in polished shoes and pastel clothes, sipping champagne like they owned the place. My yacht gleamed in the background, still decorated with her banners and lights. She stood near the edge, hands on her hips, soaking in admiration from her little crowd. Then the sound of heavy footsteps echoed on the dock. A group of uniformed men and women approached, clean-cut, confident, and unmistakably official. The U.S. Navy insignia on their shoulders caught the light. In the center of them walked someone she didn't recognize. Me, wearing the same officer's jacket I'd earned after years of service. The dock went silent. Karen's smug expression froze as I stepped past her and onto the yacht. The Navy crew saluted, waiting for my signal. "Sir, your vessel is secured," one of them said. "Ready for inspection." Karen blinked, speechless. I thought you just worked here," she stammered, her voice shaking. "No," I said evenly. "I own it." "And you're trespassing." Her guests exchanged confused glances, their smiles fading. A few even backed away as the marina manager approached with folded arms. "Ma'am," he said, "you were told not to use this area without the owner's consent." The HOA banners were quietly taken down, one by one. The laughter was gone. The cameras, once focused on her, now turned toward me. Every second felt like justice reclaiming its ground. Karen tried to recover, muttering excuses about misunderstandings, but the damage was done. The mask had slipped. Her authority, her pride, her certainty, all shattered in front of the very people she'd tried to impress. And as I stood there, the yacht behind me and the flag on my sleeve catching the wind, I realized something. Sometimes you don't need to shout to be heard. You just need to show up. But the look on her face said it all, because in that moment, she finally saw me for who I was. When the banners came down and the guests quietly dispersed, the marina fell into an uneasy silence. Karen avoided my eyes, pretending to check her phone as her perfect world unraveled around her. For once, she couldn't hide behind rules, committees, or the comfort of assumption. That day, the mirror was held up, and it showed her everything she didn't want to see. The HOA board later issued a formal apology, though it was clear they were more afraid of public backlash than truly remorseful. Karen resigned within the month, citing stress. But for me, the moment wasn't about revenge. It was about reclaiming space that people like her had long believed didn't belong to us. Every time I return to that dock, I think about how easy it is for prejudice to disguise itself as authority, and how quickly respect appears only when someone is forced to see your worth. It's exhausting, isn't it? Having to prove humanity in places where it should never have been questioned. But that day reminded me, and everyone watching, that power doesn't always wear a title. Sometimes, it stands quietly in uniform, in dignity, in patience. I didn't humiliate her. I didn't need to. The truth did that for me. And as the sun set over the calm water that evening, I thought about every person who's ever been underestimated, dismissed, or disrespected because of the color of their skin. Maybe one day, we won't have to keep teaching the same lesson over and over. Until then, the question remains, how many more people have to be seen the hard way before the world truly learns to look? If this story touched you, don't just watch, be part of the change. Hit subscribe and join our community of voices that matter.